Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talking Games with Kellie and Andrew. I'm Andrew.
And I am Kellie.
You are?
Yeah, I know. Can you believe it?
No.
Well?
No.
Well, believe it.
You know what they say, Kellie?
They do say that. I just want...
You said that like the audience could hear what we did.
Well, I just want everybody to know that we're in a Google meeting right now, and there's a feature where you can raise your hand. And somebody, when they joined the call earlier this evening, was repeatedly raising their hand. I'm not naming names, but it is someone on this podcast who is speaking right now. And Andrew just raised his hand. Can you believe that? The audacity?
That's what you're recording on.
No, it's not.
What? Am I blowing up your spot by saying what program you record your audio in?
Yeah, no free promo.
Okay, Kellie records in Windows Movie Maker.
That's true. Don't they?
It's probably an option.
Isn't Windows Movie Maker like discontinued? Isn't it called something else now?
Probably.
Like
I'm a professional editor, so I have Premiere.
Windows Movie Maker. Yeah, it was
the reason
discontinued.
Oh, Kellie laughed, but you couldn't hear it. But every time you raise your hand, it goes ba-dum, and then a little hand appears by the name. And then if you talk while your hand is raised, Google's like, hey, you're talking, but your hand's raised. You should probably put your hand down.
Yeah, it's really like extreme. Like it's really micromanagey.
And there's a button to be like, no, keep it up.
Yeah.
Keep my hand up.
I still have something to say. People need to know that I'm speaking.
My hand needs to stay up while I talk.
Yeah, it's that serious.
Should we hop into... I feel like we should warn people. This is not a fun week.
There's been a lot of bad news this week, just to preface this episode. So, unfortunately, we don't have anything like super fun to report on. Hopefully this... I don't even want to say it because I feel like when we said it last time, it got worse. But
it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, but I'm going to say this without, I just hope that this is the last of it. But to give some context, our first story is all about Microsoft, who has laid off over 1,900 employees. That's 1,900 employees across Xbox, Activision Blizzard. So that's almost 2,000 people who no longer have a job at one of the biggest studios, companies, groups, whatever you want to call them. This happened late last week. Yeah, it happened on Thursday is when they announced it. So really, really not great.
As a sidebar, Microsoft stock is up $40.
Yeah.
So the no money argument does not hold water.
Yeah. It's really, I don't know. Layoffs have just been like pummeling the industry right now. I don't know what's going on because, as we've pointed out, video game companies are making more money than ever before. Last year was a very successful year for video game companies. Partially, I think, because they are laying off all these people. I do think that these layoffs were probably, because Xbox acquired Activision Blizzard, there was probably a lot of overlapping roles that existed in both companies when they were individual companies. So not saying that that's like an excuse or anything, but that might be part of the reason why there are so many. But yeah,
I could see some of it, but like the thing for me is that part of the acquisition was a promise that they were going to basically let Activision run independently, like under Microsoft's umbrella, but still doing what it was doing before, continuing down its path, kind of like it does with all its other major studio acquisitions. But obviously that's false. 1,900 employees laid off immediately. And I mean, it is immediate. They just finished the acquisition in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's...
I think they were being dishonest when they said that. I don't think that was a truthful statement to say that, we're going to maintain the studio is going to maintain like full independence. I think that was them being dishonest.
Absolutely. I mean, it's frustrating and it's sad.
Yeah. And it doesn't get better, folks.
Another bit of news from the Microsoft umbrella. Johanna Firis, who you probably don't know the name of, but she is a major player over at Activision, has now been assigned as the new president of Blizzard. This might not sound like a big deal, but it is pretty well documented within Blizzard that Blizzard is trying to run the show in a way that makes their employees and creatives happy, and Activision has been pretty persistent about not letting that happen. And now their new president is an Activision person. A major player from Activision has pivoted over to be the president of Blizzard. I don't think that this probably does not surprise anybody hearing this news, but it's disappointing again because Blizzard has so much creativity in it. And I mean, Blizzard sucks in a lot of ways, but I do think that that's partially the Activision overlords at play. And this also comes right on the tails of Blizzard canceling that survival game they were working on for years. And I know that also is directly linked to the 1,900 layoffs. Basically, all of this is compiling in a way where, like, laying 1,900 people off and then putting in a president that is known to not be wanted. She even acknowledges in like her opening letter that she made public that like it's an awkward situation. And it's like, why would you put the head of Call of Duty as the president of Blizzard if you know it's going to do nothing but create tension,
Yeah, I think this is especially alarming because we've sort of seen the direction that most of Blizzard's multiplayer games are going, have been going for the past couple of years. And knowing that this is not something that she is going to change in any particular way. Like, I think about like Modern Warfare and its multiplayer. It's just very transactional. Diablo 4. The microtransactions in Diablo 4 are actually insane.
Micro is a generous term for those.
Right. And, even Overwatch 2, I should say, which is maybe not Blizzard's most popular game versus like WoW, but even the monetization in that is absurd. And I am someone who is in that community, and I feel like there's been a lot of complaints just in the direction of that game in particular. I don't play any of the other Blizzard games. I did play Diablo 4, much to my dismay. But but speaking as someone who is in that community and does play that game and has an understanding of the player base's opinions, I just feel like this does not feel good. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I don't know, it's just, it doesn't signify a good shift in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't see it going anywhere good. So.
Yeah. So the Embracer Group, as we know, a big purchasing group, so to speak, it was announced, it was leaked. I'm not really sure. But they were working on a Deus Ex game. Eidos was making the game, who now belongs to Embracer Group. That game has been canceled. So this means that they're shifting focus away from Deus Ex and onto an original franchise. whatever that means. They also have laid off 97 people due to, I quote, the global economic context, the challenges of our industry, and the comprehensive restructuring announced by Embracer. So,
I mean, we've seen this exact story happen multiple times over the past 6 months where Embracer foolishly acquires companies that it apparently cannot afford to upkeep. And I feel horrible for people who are laid off. I feel horrible for creative leads who are throwing away 2 years of work on a new game in an established property. I feel bad for fans of the series. It's just ridiculous, and I think Embracer... I mean, there's always some celebration behind acquisitions when it's like Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo even, because it's viewed as like they're joining the family, which is stupid. Corporations are not family. But Embracer, at least here at Talking Games, I feel like I've always viewed them as evil. Would you agree?
Yeah, they're like a Grim Reaper type figure. If they purchase your studio, there's a pretty big chance that they're going to just slice through your employee base with little regard for anything else.
And we didn't even, because when we started the show in May of 2021, we were reporting on Embracer acquisitions like every few weeks. And then all of a sudden, 6 months ago, the game flipped for us. And instead of reporting on Embracer acquiring companies, it was them gutting the companies that they already acquired.
Yeah.
And it's like nothing good ever came out of it, you know? So it's just tragic. And I really think that, I think Embracer's done. I can't see them acquiring more video game companies. You know, I don't know how they could appease their stakeholders, if they're like shutting down and losing money on all these video game studios. I can't imagine buying more is on the table, but sadly, that is a possibility. I think this is probably not the last time that we'll hear about Embracer making cuts at one of their studios.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
I think we're done with layoffs.
Thank God.
For the week.
Ugh, don't say that. I just hope that since it's the beginning of the year, it's done. Like we've heard it, we've seen it, and that's it for the rest of this quarter.
I hope you're correct. I really, really do. We'll find out, because it's just one of those things where we've said that many times this month. Every week we've been saying that, and it's just, please slow down, you know?
Yeah. Just keeps happening. And it's I think what's also complicated, sorry, I know you're about to start.
No, I'd rather hear what you have to say.
I think what's like so complicated is that these people have very specific skill sets, and the industry is just like culling them. So it's like, how can you be like a UX designer for a video game and you get laid off? You can't. It's how are you going to apply to another studio? It's like every studio is laying people off. It's like, what do you do? What do you do? You're out of options. If your wealth of experience is designing, art design for like a game or a narrative design for a game, that's a very specific set of skills. And people who work in video games typically stay in that industry for the most part because of that specific set of skills. So it's like they're left in such a difficult position because it's not like they can go and apply to a different studio, because that different studio is also probably laying people off. Like if you were working at Riot and you got laid off when they did all those layoffs, you can't apply to work at like an Xbox studio, right? Because those positions don't exist because they were all laid off. So it's like, it's such a tricky position to be in. And I really have a lot of like empathy for those people. And I just can't believe how like, I can, but like the callousness of letting go of 1,900 people is insane. I mean, I understand it's a very big company, but it's like, that's almost 2,000 people.
That's enormous. That's a huge deal.
It is. It's just sad. Makes me upset.
I think my hope is that, because this is obviously fueled by greed, by stockholder appeasing, by trying to make stockholders happy. My hope is that what is going to happen is this year, or this past year, I should say, was a very, very lucrative year for video games. And to make it more lucrative, a bunch of companies laid people off. And the stockholders are going to be like, wow, look at all this profit. Great. But come 6 months from now, maybe a year, if I have to be a realist about it, or even more, they're going to realize that those profits were driven by people. They were driven by all of these developers, by all of these designers who were creating these incredible products. Laying all them off might help your bottom line for a little bit, but then who's going to make the games? You know? Yeah. And I hope that means all these studios, Embracer, Xbox, whoever, steps back and realizes, oh, crap, we need these people to make games. And then there's like mass hiring in like within the next year. That's what I hope. And there's no way to be sure. I'm just guessing at this point, but I just think that would be my optimistic take.
Yeah.
Is that there has to be something here.
Right.
But we won't know until it happens. If it happens, that's my optimism. It's not a guarantee.
Yeah, I hope your optimism is correct.
I'm trying to pivot, but this is not good news. It's kind of a little bit funny news, but I do feel bad for some players. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League launched today. Time of recording, it's January 29th. It launched for people who paid extra money for that deluxe edition. And as soon as it launched, they had to pull it down. It's an online only game. As a reminder, they had to pull it because people would start up the game and then they'd be told that they beat the game. So they had to be like, oops, and yoink the game down. As far as I can tell, it appears that there's very few studios that got codes, or not studios, very few outlets who got codes for the game. And the embargo has obviously not been lifted as of time of recording, meaning no reviews have come out. And the first people to play it haven't actually gotten to play it. And these are people that paid extra money to get early access.
Yeah.
I think this game might be in a little trouble.
Yeah, I just feel like this game is cursed. It has been delayed so many times. And now this, it's like, I don't know what's going on at Rocksteady. I don't know what quality control they have. I don't really understand, but not great, folks.
Well, maybe those people who played it for less than an hour before it went down had a great time.
I hope they did. I hope that the UI wasn't too overwhelming with all the little doodads and bimbops and all that.
I'm very, very curious to see how this game turns out once it's out. Even though it's out right now, it's not. You can't. If you went and paid for the deluxe edition and downloaded it, you'd be told no when you entered the doors.
Yeah. I hope that, I hope that maybe this is one of those games that can just improve over time, because a disastrous launch does not always mean that the game itself is going to be bad. But, will people give it time? Is it a game that can outlast just based on story alone? I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not going to put money on it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if there's a difference between like a No Man's Sky kind of game and like a live service game.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll see how that goes for them. I feel really bad for the people who paid all that extra money. Well, first of all, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but if you were really buying the deluxe edition of this game, I think you need to make better financial choices with your life.
Yeah, I feel bad, but also like research your games before you pay a bunch.
Yeah. But here's a game that does not have a deluxe version that might be in a little bit of trouble. Pal World, which we talked about extensively last week, has been accused by lots of different people of directly stealing assets from the Pokemon Company. So much so that the Pokemon Company actually released a statement basically saying, "We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. Very interesting.
Wonder who?
Yeah. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. I think that's the key word, is assets.
Yeah.
We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world, and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. Sincerely, kindly, warmest regards, the Pokemon Company."
Uh-huh. Have you ever been, like, you go to a Panera Bread and you said, "Yeah, can I get a sandwich?" And they said, "Yeah, absolutely." And then they went back and you know, you're like, clink, clink. Like, that sounds like they're cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just put a plate down and it just says, "With sincerest regards, we are looking into the acquisition of a sandwich that you requested."
Yes. That actually has happened to me, yes.
Yeah. I don't, this sentence means nothing. Or this statement means nothing. It's them being like, "Sorry, shareholders, we're looking into it."
Yeah.
And I guess it might, like, Pal World might have been like, "Huh?" But, like, I'm going to be honest, I think this is just them saying something because they felt like they were required.
Yeah. I mean, how can you, like, investigate? I feel like this
clear.
would become very litigious.
It's also like, what do you investigate? Look at it.
Well, I guess you would have to go into the files of the game, look at the assets, and use, like, metadata to see where those assets were taken from.
You're right. I don't think.
But like I said, that seems very litigious. That doesn't seem like the kind of thing that anybody wants to waste time on.
Yeah.
So
I think that's something that already would have been found out. Like, people definitely have dug into the files of Pal World. Like, people would have figured that out before Pokemon did. Because they just get in there and they mod. Like, the fact that people modified the game already means that they would have opened the assets and saw, like, Piplup _ stolen. You know, they would have been like,
Piplup.
"Ooh."
Piplup 2. Not actually Piplup _ Be sure to erase the part where it says stolen.
And Piplup.
_Piplup.
I don't think it means much. I think it's an important discussion to have, but legally, I don't think anything's going to happen. So,
right.
Plus, Pal World's got cash now.
And I did see they had a roadmap.
Oh yeah,
so there is
that didn't mean much
definitely
to me.
There's definitely some community support going on. So we'll see. I just wonder. Let me check Steam. I just want to see how it's doing this week in comparison to last week.
Oh, like the Steam charts?
Yeah.
I mean, they did confirm that they've sold over 8 million copies on Steam alone. That's a lot of copies.
That is a lot of copies.
Are you already? I don't think it's gonna slow anything down. You know.
Right.
It has slowed down a lot, though. Well, no, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. That's a lie. I'm wrong.
Let me see.
That 24-hour peak is almost as high as the all-time peak still.
So yeah, there it is. It's still up there.
1.8. Because what, 2.1, was that accurate last week? That's what we reported on last week, right?
I can't remember.
I'll
tell you the Steam top right now. It's Pal World Enshrouded. Have you ever heard of that game?
Nope.
Steam Deck. Tekken 8, Counter-Strike 2.
Tekken 8?
Yeah, Tekken 8 is number 4 underneath
Good for
Steam
them.
Deck. So kind of number 3. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League.
Well, that's a lot of people looking at a loading screen.
Warframe, Persona 3 Reload.
Wait, I don't understand that. That game's not out yet.
You can buy it and download it right now.
Oh, and this is sales charts.
Yeah. Top
I
selling.
thought you were looking at play numbers.
Oh, no. I don't know how to look
Steamcharts.com.
I guess. Oh, okay. I was going to
Because
say.
I just pulled up the Tekken. I wanted to see the Tekken 8 numbers. It's like 46. It's around 40,000, which is good for a fighting game.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is still in the top sellers on this list. That's crazy.
It always will be until GTA 6 comes out.
That's crazy. And Elden Ring.
Mhm.
That
Oh,
game
that's
is
actually
2
that's
years
nice.
old.
Good for them.
Cyberpunk, Red Dead 2.
Should I talk about some news?
Yeah. I was just curious.
I know now. I was also just looking at Steam charts. I shouldn't be doing that. Splatoon 3 is getting a DLC. It's called Side Order. We've known about it for a while, but they announced, Nintendo came out and said it's coming out February 22nd. This might not seem like a big deal, but the reason I bring it up, as somebody who knows, like, who doesn't have anything to say about the DLC itself, I'm not 100% confident anymore that Nintendo is going to have any sort of direct presentation in this first chunk of the year. I do think that early February would have made sense for a direct, and if they are announcing the release date for this, and they had a new Princess Peach trailer last week, that they're just dropping, I think maybe they're not going to have a February direct. I'll say this, if Paper Mario gets a trailer on YouTube, it's over. Like, there's no direct.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
I think maybe I said I expected a February direct where they were going to kind of like show all of the closeout Nintendo Switch games and maybe announce something that would be like on both Switch and Switch 2 at the end of the year. But now I'm starting to think that maybe they're just going to be quiet until they have a Switch 2 to show.
Yes. We'll see.
It's purely speculation at this point.
I like your energy.
Thanks.
We have spoken so much about the Switch 2.
Mm-hmm. And we will annoyingly continue to until they actually tell us about it. Tell us about it. Like Billy Joel.
Right. Well, we are going to get told other stuff, but by PlayStation, because they're hosting a State of Play this Wednesday, or tomorrow for listeners, at 5 p.m. Is that Pacific?
That's our time.
Oh, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific.
I've given up on Pacific.
Oh.
I'm EST biased.
Till I die. Literally, probably. Anyway, this State of Play is going to be covering more than 15 games. They're going to talk about Stellar Blade, extended looks at Stellar Blade, and Rise of the Ronin. And then some PS5 VR2 stuff. So that's fun for those of you who don't get motion sickness like me.
And who are very rich and have a PSVR 2.
Right. So we'll see. I don't know. Unless there's something really crazy huge at this, which I doubt, I probably won't watch because I have no interest. I have a little bit of interest in Rise of the Ronin. That's the one that kind of looks like Assassin's Creed, right?
Yeah, made by Team Ninja.
I have a little bit of interest in that game, but Stellar Blade, I would get if you told me to walk off the plank, if I didn't know what Stellar Blade looked like.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that if I were in a life and death situation and my living condition was to know what Stellar Blade looks like or is, I would die.
Do you forget what Stellar Blade is?
Yeah.
It's like that Bayonetta-esque game with
with the ponytail.
Yeah.
And all the men look like real men and all the women look like anime characters.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I know you don't like that game. That's why I was confused by what you were saying.
No. I just needed a reminder. I thought it was called something else for some reason.
It was called Project Eve, and then they changed the name.
Oh.
Anyway.
I probably still wouldn't have remembered it, even if it still kept that name, so.
I'm excited to see it. I am looking forward to Stellar Blade because it looks like it's tapping into a very specific gameplay style that I like. It's kind of like, from what we've seen, it looks like it's melding Souls-like and like Bayonetta and Devil May Cry. Could be really cool, but we'll know a lot more. Presuming like we'll also get a release date because we have nothing, and that game got delayed on like January or on like December 29th. They were like, oh, by the way, it's not coming out this year. It's like, oh, really?
Thanks.
The thing for me about this presentation, I do think there could be a couple cool surprises, and right now we're looking at a pretty big drought of games after March. So this could kind of fill out the summer a little bit, but I'm not going to put money on that. I do think that because it's third party, it could have some cool things tucked in there. Like, it's funny being more excited for a State of Play than I was for the showcase that happened not that long ago, because the showcase is all first party stuff, and I'm like, cool. And then I realized that just meant live service. But this is third party stuff, so there might be some Square Enix in there. There'll probably be a Final Fantasy trailer in there, 7 Rebirth, and I'll close my eyes during it.
Rebirthing. We are birthing again. I sort of feel like they've shown so much of that game at this point. I don't want to see anything else.
Yeah, no, I agree. I will not be looking.
I will be closing my eyes.
There also might be... Well, you're not going to be watching, so you just have to not click the link.
I will be closing my eyes metaphorically.
In your heart, yeah.
Right.
Your heart eyes.
Right.
I also feel like that game could get a demo. There's a lot of... Like, Square Enix likes demos. There's a lot of...
Yeah, maybe like a Shadow Drop post-show demo.
That would make a lot of sense, but I would probably not play it because I'm like, the game's out in a couple weeks. It's 1 month from day of recording today. So
what part do you think they would demo? The Golden Saucer? No, they would not do that.
Probably the beginning. I think Square Enix likes to just, these days, just give demos that they're like, and then the progress carries over.
Yeah.
So I'd probably download it and then just start playing a few days early.
Yeah.
Like I did that with Final Fantasy 16, where I didn't touch the demo until like a few days before launch, and then I played it so that I was just kind of like starting early, essentially.
Oh, Clive.
I would like that, but
yeah,
I'm also busy with other games, so it's not like I need it.
Yeah, it's kind of a big February.
It's a big February, and somebody, me, made a mistake.
Oh.
Last week I was talking about, I don't know if I'm going to buy the new Like a Dragon game. I don't know if I need that. I got so many games coming down the pipe. I don't think I need the new large-scale RPG.
Well,
I think my silence may be telling of the fact that I did not resist. I went to the store. I bought a copy. Sorry.
That's okay. Live your truth.
It's not a money thing. It's a time thing exclusively. So big personal news. You know, y'all knew I was unemployed. I had been laid off from my previous employer. Hence why I love talking about all these layoff stories on the show. It's fun for me. But as of now, right, this moment, I got a new gig. And that's starting this week. Big exciting news. Bad news for my game time. Because now I have tasks to do with my days that aren't gaming. Which means I will be gaming less. Which doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world, except for you have to consider the fact that I just bought Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which is not short. And on Friday, the release of Persona 3 Reload happens, which is a big game, a very large game. It's going to be long. And then a couple weeks later, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes out. And then a few weeks later, Rise of the Ronin and Dragon's Dogma 2 and Princess Peach come out. And part of this job is that I had to go snatch up a laptop for myself for the job because I don't have a PC laptop. And I decided to shell out a few more dollars and get one that once I'm done with the gig, I could use as gaming. So I am now a PC gamer. Low end, but still PC gamer. So Kelly can't be mean to me anymore.
I've literally never been mean to you.
That's not true.
In my life.
In your life?
Yeah.
There's probably recordings of you being mean to me on this show.
In this episode.
I guess you weren't mean to me this episode. Okay, we're good.
All is well.
All is well. I did buy one game on my PC so far. I bought Pizza Tower, the indie darling of last year. Did that win? No, it didn't win. It was just nominated for indie game at the Game Awards. But I picked that up because it was on sale, and I've been wanting to play it, and it doesn't look like it's coming to any consoles anytime soon. I still will be console primary because, one, that laptop will be used for a lot of work, so I probably won't want to touch it after work hours. And 2, I just prefer console. I think it's simpler and easier, and I like sitting on my couch. And I can do that with the laptop, but then I have to plug the laptop in, and it's just kind of a pain. But I'll probably be testing it because I turned on Fortnite and I turned on Pal World just to make sure it like worked okay, and it both worked. It was hard to get Fortnite running because like the GeForce driver was like, you're wrong. And I was like, what do I do? And they're like, click this. And then I'd click it and they'd be like, good luck. And I'm like, with what?
They're really like that. They'll be like, are you ready to download your new driver's queen? And I'm like, yeah. And then I click on it and they're like, well, they're actually already downloaded and installed. So you
But then
suck.
I run the game and it says wrong drivers.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, but I thought, and they were like, okay. No.
That's kind of why I hate PC gaming, even though I'm not deep into it yet.
It's tough. It's not as, turnkey as console gaming. You don't just plug and play. You got to do all this fancy stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like the fancy stuff that you do is out of date. And then you got to do new fancy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will be, if I'm buying a game, I will be buying it on console if that's an option.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of it's probably going to be more of an indie machine for me. So that's okay with me. There's a lot of indie games that come out just on PC and I want to be able to play them. I also put Slay the Princess, which I've heard a lot of great things about. I put that on my wish list.
I have that on my wish list.
Oh, it's on sale right now, but only 10%. So I'm going to hold out.
Yeah.
And then I wish listed like Half-Life 2. Because I'm like, I've never played Half-Life 2.
More like Half-Life Poo. I'm joking. I'm just joking. It's a great game.
The cackle face, even though you didn't laugh very hard, was really good. They look devious.
I love Gordon Freeman.
Do you know who I like?
Who?
Ichiban Kasuga. I forgot that I was talking about Like a Dragon. So Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth dropped this past Friday. It is the sequel to Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is not confusing at all. It is a turn-based RPG, so the series is going back to that for the main line. It takes place in Hawaii. It takes quite a while to get there, so do keep that in mind, because I was kind of like, the first night I got it, I was like, I got to get to Hawaii, and it took me like 4 hours to get there. But once you're there, it's really cool if you're a fan of the series being in a new space. It's not overwhelmingly large. I know they talked about how the map is the biggest they've ever made, but they make pretty small, dense maps, so it's not crazy large, and you can fast travel around. And also you have a summonable mount, and by summonable mount, I mean a Segway. You press the down on the D-pad, and whoop, you're on a Segway.
Whoa.
So, and then you can press a little button, and it just automatically takes you to your whatever you have marked on the map.
I saw a very funny video on Twitter. I don't know if you've played this part yet, so I don't want to spoil it. It's like a mini game or something.
I've played a minigame on a bike.
There's one where you're like, I don't want to spoil it.
Just say it.
So you're like running down the street, but for whatever reason, the main character with like the hair, what's his name?
Yeah. Ichiban.
Kasuga. He's like, but he's running, like how you run in your dreams, like you feel like you're going really fast, but he's like really slow.
Yeah.
And then he's like, he has to like dodge the cars in time, and there's like explosions going on. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that, but they'd use those segments, like the running segments, and it'll be like, press left, and then it's just like, why is this? I'm just dodging a person that I could just step to the side of, but it's like really dramatic.
Let me send you the tweet, because I feel like you'll appreciate it, because it was like, this is, what did they say? Japanese people finally get a taste of what it's like to walk to the store in the United States. I'm going to send it to you.
It is very, very funny, because it is a very Japanese game, but it kind of has like the perception of what they see America as in some ways. Like there's a lot of cartoonishly overweight characters, which is, obesity's a problem in America, but like they look like they're walking around with like pizza shields that when they run low on health, they will eat the pizza shield. And they have like a giant club that's made of ice cream.
Come on.
Or like a big 2-liter of soda.
I'm sorry. That's very funny.
It is hysterical. It's not offensive. It's like, come on, look around America. We're very food oriented. It's pretty funny. But there's also like a lot of Japanese characters that'll be like, okay, it's time to speak English. And they speak English. And I'm like, no, no, that's rough. Like it's hard to understand. Like they're not speaking tangible English. So you're like, I need the subtitles for this English as well. And there are a lot of English speakers in the game. Danny Trejo is not amongst them.
Oh.
Because I'm playing on the Japanese version because I think that's the way to play it. I think that the Japanese voice cast is impeccable. But that does mean that when Danny Trejo came on screen, I'm like, oh, it's Danny Trejo. And then a Japanese voice came out of him. I was like, oh. I was like, I thought he would speak English amongst the Japanese people, but nope, different guy. And then I went and I watched a clip of the dub. And you know what? I'm okay with him being Japanese.
He will
not to trash on Danny Trejo, but
he will just be in anything. He was
it's
Raul
interesting.
in Fallout New Vegas. He was a ghoul companion.
Oh, was he good in that?
It's hard to say.
He's bad in this.
It's really hard to say because Raul is such a good character, and his whole thing is that he was a ghoul. He has been around since before the war. He used to live in Mexico. So he's like a pre-war ghoul, so he's really, really old. He's like 200 plus years old. And he's just like really dejected and like jaded and cynical. But he does a good job. I wouldn't say it's like the best voice performance in the game. I thought that, and I don't like him as a person, but I thought Zachary Levi was really good as Arcade. But we don't have to talk about Fallout New Vegas. Even though
Zachary Levi is not in Infinite Wealth.
Oh, I thought he voiced Danny Trejo.
Yep. He did the Japanese voice of Danny Trejo. But the game is off to a really good start. The gameplay has kind of been polished out in an interesting way. The turn-based combat was a little finicky in the original. It was definitely something they were learning, but now they kind of took a lot of advantage of like spatial awareness. So your character can move around a little bit in like a little circle. And like, for example, you can get behind a character that you're trying to attack and you do more damage that way. Or you get in a way where you try to kick them into another enemy and do damage to both. Or kick them into your friend so your friend can do another hit. So it's really cool being able to manipulate the field a little bit. Kiryu is one of the main characters. He's the second party member you get. Well, he's the first party member you get behind main character Ichiban. And he has the ability to change fighting styles. So you can on the fly switch to like fast, normal, or heavy hitting, which is something that carries over from the real-time combat from the original Yakuza games. I think that's a really cool touch. There's just a lot of little stuff to make it fast and feel a lot smoother now than it was in the original. Well, in like a Yakuza Like a Dragon. And the character writing is just like pinnacle right now. I'm about 10 hours into the game. I played a lot. I'm on the 5th chapter out of 14. So I'm making headway. I don't think I'll finish it before Persona 5 or Persona 3 comes out, but I'm really, really enjoying it. And I think the characters are really well written. Kiryu and Ichiban haven't really talked much, like on screen. They have a few interactions in Like a Dragon that came out a few years ago, but it wasn't a ton. This one, it's interesting because you're together in the party. There's a lot more going on, and I do think that the writing can get very. It's sometimes very emotional, sometimes very charming. There was a scene that I was like, the two of them were just being kind of silly, which is funny because like Ichiban's like super loud and outgoing, whereas Kiryu's like really stoic. So seeing them be kind of like silly together, it's incredible. Like it is genuinely some of the best I've seen in the series. I hope that it maintains this momentum. I've heard that it just gets better as it goes. The side content is, there's a lot of it. I've never been a huge side story person in this series. They're always very silly, and that's good, and I like that they're silly in this game, but I'm invested in the stories, the main stories, and that's usually what I'm there for. I've done a couple side activities. I was a DoorDash driver, but you're on a bike, and you can do like a bunch of flips, and if you do flips, you get more money. I was making like $1,000 for a delivery, and I'm like, dang.
Whoa.
I'm going to move to Hawaii and become a DoorDasher. There's just a lot going on here. I think it's really fun to play. The new setting is really cool. I've loved every other Yakuza I've played, but it is cool being in such a different setting. it's still, streets and stores and everything feels kind of similar, but like the general vibe's a lot different. And they really lean into the Hawaii stuff. There's like a lot of tropical instruments added to a lot of the little musical cues. So if you played the last game, Like a Dragon, I'd highly recommend this one. It is a better version of that. It takes the story new and interesting places. The new characters that I have in my party, I like a lot. I think I might like them more than the previous game's characters. They're just introduced in more interesting ways, in my opinion. And I look forward to seeing where it goes. I will try to play as much as I can before I start my new job. And then, sadly, I'll be juggling it with Persona 3 Reload, which is not a little game. I wish one of them was short, because then I could, easily juggle. But nope.
Yeah.
My understanding is this game's about 45 hours if you're just mainlining it. I'm usually quicker than those things estimate, but we'll see. I mean, like I said, I'm 10 hours in. I'm on chapter 5, so that's 2.5 hours per chapter. All right, time to do math. All right,
Ugh,
Kelly.
No, let's.
Now I'm
Oh, God.
2.5 times 14. That says that would be 35 hours, but I'm sure there will be some longer chapters.
Yeah, it might get longer towards the end.
Yeah. And I have a few level up drinks that the game gave me for getting it on day one.
Rare candies.
Yeah, essentially. They don't like there's a thing called Sujimon in this where you can catch Sujimon and fight Sujimon, and you have to fight the discrete 4.
That's funny.
And all the and I'm ignoring that part of the game, but it's there's a full there's a bunch of trainers around the city that you can go and fight with your Sujimon, and I'm like, this is absurd, and it's just packed into this other game. And now they have a Sujimon Go, and you go around and fight in raids.
Wow.
And then you have to catch the Sujimon that you just fought in the raids. And the Sujimon are people. They're not like Pal World ripoff. They're like human beings that you catch. So it makes it extra silly.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on here, and I'm really liking it so far. And it's just a really fun, smooth experience, and I hope that it keeps pace. That was the thing. The last one kind of had some dips in pace around the middle, and I hope that that's not the case here. I'm getting into the middle now, so if that is the case, I'm in trouble, especially if it's competing with Persona 3 for my attention. But I also was considering getting Tekken 8, but that would have been stupid. I shouldn't. That'd be absolutely insane.
Well, I won't say that you shouldn't. I think you should follow your heart.
My heart says I want to finish some games.
You can finish these games. You can play a little bit at a time. Spend an hour on Monday playing Infinite Well. Hi, it's been a long day. And then Tuesday you could spend a couple hours playing Persona 3, and then Wednesday you could get some Tekken 8 time in. The world is your oyster.
Yeah, but two of those games are very long JRPGs, and the other is a fighting game that demands a lot of your attention to get good out of it.
Well,
you
can finish the JRPGs by the end of the year.
Year? Oh, that's terrible, Kelly.
I'm just
saying,
saying, if
soon.
you want to play all these games, there's a way to do it. You just have to manage your time.
Here's my thing. It looks like we're about to hit a summer drought of video games, not water. Well, I'm sure some places are having a water drought, but not us. We're looking at a video game drought coming in the next couple months. If that happens, I won't be too upset because of the sheer quantity of games.
Yeah.
It looks like March 22nd will be the end of video game releases for a while. But I have to remind you that March 22nd is the release of Princess Peach, Dragon's Dogma, and Rise of the Ronin. So it's a busy day, and then we have almost nothing slated for the rest of the year until the end. So March 22nd onward might be catch-up time,
Mm-hmm. What about mustard
my
time?
Goodness. I wish I had mustard. I think I'm going to go eat some mustard for dinner, actually. Did you play anything this week? I forgot to ask you. I thought I was going to do this weird wrap-up bit that was mustard.
No, you're fine. I haven't played anything new. I've been playing games that I always play, but I will be playing a new game next week. I bet you guys Can't guess what it is. It's not even, I don't even feel like doing a bit. You know what I mean? It's like, what's the joke? Oh, it's a game that we know that you're going to play, but she's going to say something else.
Were you going to say Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League?
No, I was going to say Truck Simulator.
Oh.
North American Truck Simulator.
Oh, well, North American. That's a reasonable thing to say, actually.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of the bits. I'm sick of having fun. I'm sick of being silly. I want to be serious. I want to not have fun. I want my headphones to stop rubbing against my desk and making noises in my ears. And I want you guys all to have a really great week. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. We're so excited to talk to you next week about life and love and death. Bye.